Hi, my name is Stephen Winyard. I'm a director of Salt Edge, and it's my pleasure to give you an introduction into the company. A little over 10 years ago, Salt Edge started with just 3 people with a dream and an idea. And that company has now evolved into what is considered to be one of the world's leading open banking businesses, and something that everybody that works within the company is very proud of. Our role is to do many things in the world of open banking, and whilst those 2 small words, open and banking, don't really in many cases describe what we do, it's a plethora of different technologies and APIs. And this is all designed to help businesses all over the world embrace, evolve, and find great ways of utilizing this fantastic technology, which is open banking. The technology platform that Salt Edge have is there and is designed to help and support companies from the world's largest banks and fintechs to the smallest companies, to startups, people that want to try and find ways to find better services, better use of technology to deliver better services ultimately to us as consumers. So the world of open banking is very varied. It covers a multitude of different technologies. In its simple form, it allows payments to be made from one bank account to another. It also allows access to people's bank accounts. And with that data, so many things can be done that ultimately make life better, faster and quicker. And the one thing that we always find really beneficial is the genuine expertise and advice that we can offer in different areas. And this is from compliance to regulation to thoughts and literally thought leadership. This is trends. We see people all over the world on a daily basis trying different things with open banking. And part of our job is to guide and advise wherever we can to help those businesses make the very best of that technology. Salt Edge have multiple offerings that they take to the market, and one of the things that I want to discuss is what we class as the open banking gateway. Now, the gateway is the connections that we have to banks and financial institutions across the world. This is in about 50 countries and totals over 5,000, and these are direct connections that Salt Edge have built up over the last decade. We're truly an international business. That coverage is really important because when companies are looking to engage with an open banking provider, it's really critical to have that width and breadth of coverage to all of those different kinds of banks and financial institutions. Now, we split gateway into 2 areas. One is payments and the other is account information. So across Europe, under the PSD2 directive, we've got connections to probably around 2,400 banks, which will allow the ability for people to make payments from account to an account. Now, the use cases for this are growing so rapidly. It's one of the most predominantly focused areas of open banking now and in the future. In fact, a recent report suggested that the value of the open banking market by 2030 would be approaching 130 billion. And we can kind of understand why. If you look at the United Kingdom in particular, which is often heralded as one of the leaders in open banking, HMRC are doing an £800 million tender. That is all about open banking for payments and account information services for the whole of the government sector, including charities across the United Kingdom. Now, I would imagine that an awful lot of other countries across the world are also going to adopt a very similar approach. So without doubt, open banking absolutely has a place in society and a place in the world. Account information service is the next thing that we focus on, and as I said, we've got about 5,000 banks. The use cases for AIS, as we refer it, are enormous. I'll give you a few ideas. Affordability checks. If you were applying for a mortgage or a loan, in the old days you may have to submit a variety of bank statements that you download. These days you can consent to that company, that lender, to access your bank account, and doing so they can find your income, your expenditure, and it's much quicker and easier and cheaper for us as the consumer and for the business to offer this service. Some of the beauties of open banking, it just makes things quicker and faster and far more cost effective. Also, account validation. Unfortunately, in the world today, in the world of finance in particular, there's a lot of fraud, and a lot of identity companies are now looking to adopt open banking as a way of proving that you really are who you say you are, because they're using bank validated KYC data on you. Those are just 2 use cases for AIS. So if you imagine any opportunity where you've got the ability to share your personal information with your consent to a business that can then offer you a service, it's phenomenal. Other use cases we see are super apps, and super apps is any business or institution that has a very high number of users that subscribe to a service. If you trust that consumer, that business, you can consent for them to review your account. And by doing so, they will be able to then serve you back better products and services, more targeted to us. Again, everything that we do is ultimately aimed at the benefit of the consumer. Any service that someone can review information and data and provide you a better product or a better service, save you money, is perfect. In the world of big finance and big corporates, a lot of the banks and the trade finance companies and the lenders are doing really deep analysis on cash flow. And this could be companies that have multiple loans or multiple credit facilities, where using account information service will allow them to identify the right time to make the payments, the right way to do their wealth investment. This can improve the world of finance in the millions, if not billions, just by being a bit more intelligent with the access to financial data. Also, there are other use cases we've come across where there are businesses that may have multiple franchises or multiple bank accounts. In the old days, you may have to download an Excel spreadsheet and send it through to accounts to review your payments. These days, you can consent to have access to all of the bank accounts within the business that you're operating and review on a daily basis all the income, all the expenditure. You can identify trends, weaknesses, all sorts of different products. So there's a huge amount of power with open banking in those two areas. When you choose an open banking provider, and obviously Salt Edge will be very pleased to assist you in this, we find that there are several reasons that people have to make this decision, one of which is the people that we actually have within the company. Quite often it's not just about plugging into an API to provide connections to banks. More often it's thought leadership and its expertise in many, many areas, from compliance to regulation to guidance. On top of that, we have to make sure as a business that we can offer very affordable and flexible pricing. Not everybody wants to pay for the same thing in the same way. And these are all things over the last decade that Salt Edge has evolved into doing. We are very flexible. It's critically important for us to make sure that we can fit in with the budgets and the requirements that businesses have that we work with. And again, this is from the biggest companies to the very smallest. They all have different dynamics, and it's part of our job to make sure we can do everything we can to support that. We're often asked about competitive advantage in Salt Edge. And I think this comes down to several areas, really. Some companies just purely focus on payments. Others focus on account information services. Salt Edge not only do both, we also offer a PSD2 compliance to a lot of banks and EMIs. Now, I think this breadth of knowledge on the whole ecosystem of open banking, plus the fact we've got over 5,000 connections, really makes a difference. These are things we get from clients and customers when we engage with them. It is that broad understanding of the entire ecosystem from point to point. We also experience so many different use cases with our clients. Some work really well and others don't. And that allows us to provide that depth and level of honesty and thought leadership to everybody that we engage with. So we'll do everything we can to try and make sure that any business that engages with us ends up with the best experience. The concept of partnership is a very important aspect for everybody at Salt Edge. And this becomes really critical when we try and analyse the success stories that our clients have through open banking. Quite often, a lot of people have points of pain, and we will do our very best to help support them to find ways to mitigate that pain or improve their service, or even invent a new service as part of their offering. One thing we love to do with our clients is continue that concept of partnership. This makes things more successful. It's that constant attention to detail, that thought leadership, that suggestions and ideas. For example, we have some major banks that power some big subscription companies that had problems with payments, and we instigated a open banking payment as part of the setup. That allowed the correct data of the person that was making that subscription to then form the direct debit mandate. Therefore, it prevented a lot of failed direct debits and fraudulent direct debits. That, without doubt, has made that company's life a lot easier. Also, there's instances where direct debits were presented and failed because there were insufficient funds. This particular client is now using account information services to check for affordability before a direct debit is provided. Now, this is just one use case that has seen a huge growth in the use of these API connections, and that's something that Salt Edge really do, as well as work very strongly with the partner network that we've been able to establish across the world. One thing I'd like to talk about is partnerships and how important they are to us, all of us here at Salt Edge. Our partners are varied, and they range from some of the biggest financial institutions in the world to core banking providers to banks themselves. Salt Edge are often engaged as the experts, the open banking partner, and this is either through direct integrations with these companies, which means the products and services they sell to their clients is easier to offer open banking as a service through this, or we provide our open banking expertise to that partner. Also, there are many occasions where we deal with customers and clients, and frankly, the open banking itself isn't enough to satisfy the needs that they're trying to fulfill. We then bring in our partners and their expertise. And this can range from, for example, some of the big identity companies. Salt Edge can only provide certain parts of that journey. Other companies can provide so much more. So it's part of our mission always to provide the best solution to every opportunity we get to see. The power of partnerships is a critical thing for Salt Edge. We're very blessed and very proud that so many different companies have chosen to use us as their open banking partner. This makes our life and the life of the end client so much better because we have combinations of expertise and technology. That means that the services that our partners are looking to offer is just richer and deeper because of the engagement they have with us. Our partner network spans the entire world and is for many different companies. It's people that do direct core banking, to fintechs, to banks themselves, where they have their own clients and their own use cases where they engage with Salt Edge to try and make the open banking service better, deeper and richer. So our partner network is one that is always growing. It's one that we invest a lot of time, effort and energy in. And quite often, companies don't realize they're going to end up dealing with Salt Edge, and that's down to the power of the partnership that we've worked so hard to support. Working with Salt Edge is really quite straightforward. We welcome you to review our website, which is very thorough and very detailed. And on there, you can request a demo, you can download a variety of detailed information. And also, I just want to explain a bit about the process that we go through when you engage with us. We will always speak to you and we will always find out what your use case is, what you're trying to achieve. And from that, we involve a variety of people as and when they're required in that process. This is from dedicated project teams, to technical teams, to regulation, to compliance. It's part of our job to make sure that we give you the very best advice at all times and make sure that what it is you're looking to achieve can be satisfied working with Salt Edge. And it's a journey that we really enjoy, so we welcome you to get in touch.